Yeah. Okay, good. Everybody's fine? Good, good. Okay, that's nice. So, Shriya told me a few people are outside there. Say hello. Some years ago, I would sit here. There was an uninterrupted view of Arunachala from here. I'd sit here very often after Satsang and looking there. The same now. Now trees have grown up. Anybody from here gonna come to Rishikesh also? First time in India. Okay.
So already in Tiruvannamalai. And already straight here.
Wow.
They just got on the plane. So
Coming from where you to?
France, Canada, Switzerland, Belgium. But speaking a little bit French. Speaking French.
All speaking French?
Yeah, some
okay.
understand English, but that's why.
But English also, no? So you're going to tell me something? Or? Yeah.
You said before you're waiting all this time for here. Where else to go? For me, it's only you. And I plan to come before you announced to come here in Tiruvannamalai before Rishikesh. It was the last year. Take the blessings from the Lord. It happened, we're here. So I arrived yesterday in Chennai and took a taxi this morning to be here for Satsang because it was my flight meeting.
Yes. We can pick up this at all? From, can we pick it up in recording? No. It's nice to hear, no? That, so you only arrived yesterday?
I arrived in Chennai yesterday.
In Chennai yesterday.
I booked my tickets before you announced to come here to take the blessing before I come for Rishikesh. I come from the preparation and then I stayed for Satsang. And then you announced you are here and I was like, and it's like always when I'm far away from you, it's like I found you inside. You answer all my questions and I'm always with you and you are with me. We are like this connection. Like, guru and disciple or doesn't exist beyond that even. But when I'm on your presence, I can't let go of your physical presence. I don't know what it is.
You cannot what?
I cannot let go of your physical presence.
Ah.
That's why I'm here now and waiting for you. And it's like, it feels good, but in the same time it's a question, I found you anyway, and that's, but then I'm so much be happy to be around you. It's natural, huh?
It is very natural.
Yes.
It is very natural.
Yes.
It is very natural. For myself also, it's natural
Yes,
to
I
be
do.
with to be in the company of beings who have a veneration for God or for truth is the only real company that I know. Because sometimes you have to be in different types of environment and amongst different people with different kind of thinking, and it can be a struggle, you know, if they want to engage, but I'm okay with it after so many years of practice, you know. But the real joy is really being in the company of a Sangha, where our interactions are so smooth because the heart is always open and so quickly in recognition of what is true. So it's not struggle, you know, trying to prove points, and we don't have these kind of conversations anymore. Because grace is never away from you. So that's why I say it's the same for me. It's a real joy, you know?
I'm also from the Sangha, from Creed Sangha and preparation also, because there's a lot of growth in the Sangha.
Yeah.
Like a mirror. It's a lot of joy to be with the Sangha also.
Yes, yes. No, it's just a recording. It's not the microphone so much, but it's nice. But it's good people here. They can hear what you are sharing.
Yeah, it's very nice, and to be with the Sangha around. It doesn't matter, no personal connection, just to be with the Sangha, and it's
Yes,
like a completely mirror and opening and blossoming, and I'm very happy. I managed to come even for every year a little bit with you and the Sangha. It's not always easy, but every year I manage, so I'm very, very happy, and thank you very much, and this eternal love.
As we blossom, and you said it's a struggle to communicate with people that don't communicate in the same manner that you do, are not open. We also live our lives, and we are constantly communicating with people who are dear to us.
Yes.
Who do not communicate in the same language.
Okay. What am I saying that, you know, because I briefly mentioned that, you know, sometimes being in the company, I could have really been more specific than that, because we often have to be in such varied company, you know, depending upon the interactions that you need to go through. Sometimes even just to be in the city or in the town and speaking with people, it's fine. Something is perfectly, because I don't expect anything from the people. So I find something automatically meets them in the appropriate way, because I don't feel that there's a need to try and engage people into spirituality. That would be a kind of force. But just by being yourself, and you know, you find there's always a way. Something flows, you know.
Yes.
And I don't expect, nor do I want to, you know, pull people into a certain way of thinking. I feel just by being true in yourself, and by being true does not mean that, you know, people must speak on the same topic as you. True meaning that your being is so adaptable, so flexible, and yet it's always the same. So it can be with different type of energy fields or expression. And because I don't want to change them, you know, just by being, and so many wonderful things happen like that. You see? The problem would come is if you are in an environment where sometimes someone would feel challenged. Let's put it this way. As you are yourself merging back in your own source, you know. Even if on the surface you are very kind in your way, you don't want to, you're not working on people, but the power of the presence, you know, and the presence of the power is acting somehow, independent of how you may just want to have a nice cup of tea and so on, but something invisible is happening inside people sometimes, you know, and it's not that you're picking and choosing; it is doing its own work, and there's a growing in you to accept that even if someone feels uncomfortable, it is okay. It's not personal, you know, like that. But sometimes it may come like, you know, for them it's like, you know, they feel uncomfortable or restless, and it may appear as though, wow, I wish they were not so disturbed about something. But trust, you know, that the Supreme is doing their work, you know. It's somehow, I can say other things about it, but the important thing is that you accept that, you know, you don't have to voluntarily want to do something. The power of the presence of the self is itself having some impact and effect on your environment, not just among human beings, but a lot of things, actually. I mean, sometimes people who are close to you, this is a challenge because sometimes we see that those who we feel close, sometimes family, sometimes friends, it can be very challenging because they have an idea of you. And the idea we have of each other is not necessarily who we each are, you know? And so when they see that there's a presence of force with you, or you appear to be acting out of the framework that they hold you in, something feels threatened and uneasy about it, you know? Can you live with that, you see? And so therefore, in that environment, you may feel some discomfort, you know, because there's maybe some judgment. It comes more strongly with people who have a sense that they know you, and then you're moved out of their...
It comes from their ones.
Yes, yeah, it can be like that.
It's okay, so long as you're flexible.
Yeah.
And you just let it flow.
And
just
that
let
you...
it go.
Yes. And that you don't try to demonstrate anything.
Yes.
They ask you, what's happening in your life? And you may find, you check in, always check in, you come back to your emptiness, and don't be in a hurry or enthusiastic to share anything. Then they'll scratch a bit more. And then when they're sufficiently, perhaps, you know, have the right kind of appetite or something may flow from you. It's a subtle thing. Okay.
Namaste, Guru.
Namaste, Amma.
It was very nice when you took us to that invitation.
Uh-huh.
And I felt so wonderful and blissful inside. In fact, I'd written you a note also yesterday. But I just want to know that how do you reach the ultimate stage of Brahman? Like, this was wonderful feeling that within, and you need a Guru's grace to finally stay in that stage. Like, I know you have to keep the mind, only when the mind is peaceful, like in yesterday's story with Buddha. The man bowed down to him because he said, you've taken away my chattering or inquisitive mind.
Yes.
So you need to have the mind at a very peaceful level. But how do you, reach the final? Because that's an intuitive feeling, that's a feeling of Brahman.
You have to be careful that also sometimes the mind itself is telling you you have so much more to do. And, we believe it, because we are accustomed to our relationship that is shaped in the mind. And so, it's almost that we are seeking the mind's permission or the mind's assessment of the level of your maturity. And it is not a reliable voice, especially when it comes to the subject of transcendence and of, resting in the what is, you may say. Yeah? So as you say, it's a wonderful state you experience through the invitation. But for another one, it just is. There's no measurement. It's beyond measurement, even conceptual measurement. It just is. And so, because it cannot be compared with any state, you see, it just is. Now, the sense of the person we take ourselves to be appears to be more reliable, more consistent, more strong. And so from that state, we are trying to measure if the one that we are used to being can one day stabilize in that state. So the belief and the strength of the belief in our present state of personhood seems to interfere with the natural rest that there is in you. What you're discovering through the invitation is actually what you are already. The one who says, I would like to stabilize in that state, that one is not stable, and actually it is not really your final state, But we seem to be operating from that place, saying, how can I stabilize in this? It is understandable. How can I stabilize in that higher state? The more you love it and the more you appreciate, because you yourself say, I feel so peaceful, I feel so happy. So this is your natural environment, to be happy, peaceful, content, an emerging wisdom, an unstudied wisdom is coming in you. So naturally your being gravitates towards that. It enjoys just to be and to be in such a noble state. So that love for being is itself, securing your deliverance in a way, you see? Rather than fighting with the mind, your appreciation of your own natural state is itself neutralizing the restlessness in the mind. Everything is coming under its sway in a very natural way.
So it will gradually happen, or nobody can say, like...
Well, first of all, as I said, the perfect state is not a happening. It simply is. What appears to be a happening is the recognition of that which is not a happening. Because all our life is full of happenings, you see? But all happenings, they are ceaseless, they continue changing, unending transformations, no? Whereas your natural state is so perfectly unchanging. Now, from the mind, we often don't know how to comprehend that, because unchanging, the mind sometimes equates with being stagnant, but we need to grow, we need to proliferate, we need to change, but that is the nature of the dynamic consciousness, plays like that. As you are discovering the silence of peace, peace is peace, it is stable.
So one will naturally gravitate. Once having experienced it, you will slowly, automatically gravitate towards it.
Yes, you are not even thinking about gravitating towards it. You're simply just loving it. And your loving it, it creates a sense of merging with it, But you're so in love with it, you're not even thinking of how much... You're so in love with your own awakening, you're not measuring anything. You're just in the joy of your own self. You sometimes only discover how much you have left when perhaps a situation comes that you would remember or you will notice, but I'm not reacting in the same old way. So only with hindsight something has changed. Because normally I'd be fired up now if somebody says something like this. But there's a silence, Or maybe a situation that you would imagine, this would be, I would be very upset and I'd be so disturbed by it. You find that there's a tranquility within yourself. You say, but maybe some people think maybe is something wrong. So why? Because I'm feeling so peaceful, and I think I should be upset. I say, no, it's okay. It's okay.
So Guruji, it's your grace that has got this. Thank you. It's your grace which has got this peacefulness within. Thank you so very much.
This peacefulness need not leave.
Pardon me?
The peacefulness does not need to leave. It doesn't have to leave, It is so much in synchronicity and harmony with your natural state, Happiness wants to be with you.
Happiness?
It wants to be with you.
Yes. Sorry, I'm a little deaf with age. Thank you so much.
Someone here, one moment.
Namaste.
Yeah, just hold it a bit like this, because it's not a microphone, it's just a recorder. So.
Okay.
Further away.
It's not my.
Yes. Okay, good, good.
Namaste, first of all. Thank you for the Satsangs here.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Okay. You usually ask that question, now I'm asking that question to you. Okay. So I was in Sahaja a few months ago. And from that time onwards, there has been a natural tendency to be in my own neutral space and very joyful.
Yes.
And more and more tendency to just be there without making any effort, just being there. And the tendency to fill your wakefulness with objects and desires is also, it's just kind of dropping away by itself.
Yes.
So there is no obsession to fill your waking hours with this and that and objects and stuff like that. So it's just something very neutral, natural and joyful has been there from the time I have returned from Sahaja. In fact, it started there when I was in Sahaja.
Yes.
But it also seems like the more the tendency to be in the neutral space, somehow the body is throwing up too many symptoms and illnesses and sickness and things like that, almost to the point that the attention has no choice but to pay attention to just the body at almost all the waking hours. Even coming today here, just I knew about this satsang, but I couldn't come here, and just today I have taken some chance and been here, just somehow came down here.
Yes.
But so the attention seems to have no choice but to just be with the body and the symptoms and the illnesses and things like that.
Yes.
So if you like to say a few words.
The attention can go towards the body without leaving the self. Everything is arising inside the self, just like everything that you see exists in space. But space is not clinging to anything, you see. In the same way, you know, you have come to a state of realization where your natural atmosphere, I'm using this word now, the climate or atmosphere, that's your most pronounced and continuous natural state, is as though you're insulated inside a very warm space of being. You know, you don't have to go and get that. The waking state wakes up in that. I say that, you know, if you can, if I use an example, that you say you caught the flu or something, a cold or something, flu, and say you have the flu, you're in the flu state for 2 weeks or so on. So all your life lived is taking place inside the flu state. So when you are having a shower, it's inside the flu state. Brush your teeth inside the flu state. You're sending your emails, you're still in the flu state. You see? In the same way, all your life activity is unfolding inside the conscious awareness. It's as though this awareness is not different from you. You are this awareness field. It has a certain kind of energetic quality about it in its dynamic manifest state. But there's still this, I don't want to call it a feeling, you see. But because feelings are felt in it, feelings come and go in it. So I cannot limit it to a feeling, you see. Everything is moving in it. You are it, you know. And at the same time, you have a sensitiveness because of the body, the breath, the vital force, the senses, the mind, the shopping through the senses for sense contact and so on. All this is happening naturally without the feeling that I need to get rid of this to be moored here. You are always here because the vital force is here, the mind is still functioning, the momentum of conditioning, all that is played. But there's no confusion, such as, why is this still going on? Why can't I just be this? No, you're always the self, no? And gradually what happens is that the attention drifting towards, say, feelings or the body or something, that it brings less and less engagement. It's as though it's happening in a kind of field of neutrality. It's just going on, you know, it's just going on.
Gradually,
there's no need to fight with it.
Anymore, so.
Huh?
Gradually, it's not a headline news anymore.
Yes, it's just happening. and it's not being, the commentary, the inner journalist, he's also quietly fading out. There's a perceiving that is happening very, very naturally, but it is a bit like, when I use the term, like writing on water. You write something, a message on water, but you cannot read it after. It leaves no fingerprint. In a sense, your experiencing is not being held and preserved in a sort of personal memory system. And yet, there's a natural remembering if it is required. It is the most beautiful thing. You're never so stressed. If it's stress, it's superficial, And nothing is greater than that, the space in which everything is happening. And it's not an imagined space, it's not. I'm saying the word space is even more subtle than space, because space itself is perceived in it. It's most. Then you automatically know that this is imperishable. That terminologies such as timeless, infinite, imperishable, unborn, immutable, they are addressing yourself actually as that pure awareness. So as you are discovering more and more of this, the tight grip of the sense of personhood is just loosening up, and you're able to more experience and be comfortable with this feeling of emptiness. If we speak to most people about emptiness, they have no reference for this. They think, but that's crazy. You need to be something. Whereas the one who is free is no thing, actually, and yet is at one with everything. I don't speak about this so often because it's often so easily missed or turned into some kind of spiritual cliche or something. But what is important is that as we speak, the recognition is taking place, and at the same time, the confirmation is there in you, and that is directly experienced and verified in you. I don't want to speak something that is just a mind knowledge. I have no particular importance given to that. I'm only somehow, it's like a perfect diamond that's dropped into the mud. And but nothing has happened to the diamond, you see. But in order to experience its luster and its beauty, we just have to wash off the mud. And nothing has happened to the diamond. So the diamond is like indicative of your natural state, and the mud is like mind, identity. For a while, it's covering the luster, the radiance of the self. Nothing has happened to the self. Even the functioning of perception is happening automatically. Just like waking up happens automatically. You don't have to turn on the senses. Everything is happening automatically. If you woke up at 7 o'clock, at 6:59, where were you? Then as soon as 7 o'clock, let's say, the dynamic consciousness appears. So if it appears, it must appear inside something that was there before it. So that waking up happens, and the awareness of waking up is present. Someone once asked me, well, what is your first experience when you wake up? And I found myself saying that nothingness remains unchanged. It's like now there's a functioning of the mind and activities, but there's no big deal about that. You see, until you are in that natural self-aware state, nothing can compare with the excellence of your self as pure consciousness. Even now, you are the pure consciousness, but somehow functioning through the contracted state of personhood. That will, the evolution of consciousness is the breaking open of that egg of ego. It's like the consciousness hatches open, and again you are in your natural state. And that is the play. You can relate to what I'm saying?
Thank you.
Thank you, Len.
Namaskar, Guruji. Thanks.
Thank you.
Actually, my question is, is here? Yeah. The question is.
I'll repeat what he says because his voice is very soft. No?
Yeah.
So say. No?
Yeah, my name is Shayad. Actually, the question is the self-realized people.
The self?
Realized people. Who are the almighty persons, who was that elder persons like Ramanas, all that.
Relates to
persons.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are self-realized.
Oh.
Okay. The people who are in ego as a normal life, so they are not a problem with ego because they are enjoying the plus and minus with ego.
Yes.
The self-realized people are demolished everything. They are eternal. They give right thing to all the peoples, or every eternally they are. But who are the sparkling self? So sometimes they are, because of the Guruji's, the blessing, right things, right people comes to this world, like good eternal people comes to the world, good gurus comes to this world. They are giving, they are very self-realized. They are coming to for the people, giving sparkling self. So suddenly they will get that because of the right karmas. My feel,
yes.
Right karmas, they are getting sparkling self.
Mm-hmm.
So the problem with the sparkling self is every people will feel that holy feel. I am sparkly, I am the self within the second or less than the second. They feel, okay, whatever the today morning I got that experience, okay, the whatever the last things, and that the realization, it is there, it is the realized one is there, it is the eternal, it doesn't compare with anyone. So anything, so that feel is there, but it is very, very less than the second.
Yes,
less than the second, it is coming and going.
Okay, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
but these people, this sparkling self people, I am giving the name is sparkling self.
Okay, that's okay.
Okay, that people, when living in the ego, the normal life, when living the ego, what is the, because everybody wants to self-realized, but the sparkling self people, once they feel the holy feel, after that as a normal life they have to go. They have to live in the normal life. So what is the part of ego will make the people to reach the complete self? What is the help of ego?
Okay, if I can. So listen to what I'm saying to see if I'm saying correctly what you say. I'm just going to say, because I have a feeling you may not have heard what he's saying, and I feel it is important enough. What he's saying is that the vast majority of people appear to be, they're living in the state of ego. They don't even feel troubled by it because there's no question of being other than it. You follow? So it's like normal state. Normal state. We have troubles, we have sorrow, we have joy, and it comes, goes. So they are in that state and it's normal for them. Then he's talking about the people, more awakened beings, he called the sparkling, completely self-realized beings. They have the authority or the power to in some way impart this carbonated joy to those who come around, and they feel a touch of this. This is wonderful. And in that state, these people who feel that they've received the grace can feel, it really exists. It exists. But somehow it doesn't stay. It doesn't stay. And so either these people have to keep going to receive more sparkle, and then it stay a little bit, and then it goes like this. Is there a way in which, what is the way for the ego to come to this sparkling state without having to lose that? No? That is there a way?
Life, we are more merged with the normal life. So that the life, when we are kid, as the Atma gets some life means, the ego is given. So the ego, what is the, then anyway it has to go to the complete state again. So the ego should have the right way to reach it. Somewhat it has to help.
You see, that's an assumption that ego is the doer of things. The ego sense it takes some sense of responsibility and identity as the doer of actions and the thinker of thoughts. But that itself is thought. Actually, the life force, the prana, is taking care of the functioning universe by the will of God. It's happening. But the ego, which actually doesn't really exist, but appears to exist, meaning that it doesn't exist in the way that we think. So what he's saying is that what is the way, because even the sparkling people, I think you're saying,
Because if I do wrong things,
Yes.
more wrong things,
If
in the
you do
world,
more- yeah.
so what will happen? The self-relation is remove that all the dust. If I make more dust because of my ego, so ego has somewhat some responsibility for this self-relation.
realized state being has realized that the ego does not exist. That's what realization means. That formerly, because I was living in a state of ignorance of my true nature, believing myself to be predominantly or primarily the body and the conditioning received in the body, I took that to be who I am. Now they realize that that is only a dream. It's not true. The true self is awareness. In the awareness, the dynamic expression of awareness does not itself require an autonomous or separate doer. That is something that's created through the mind. It happened. I know this is very subtle and probably you don't get that part of it. But if the jnani or the sparkling person, whatever you call it, whatever action they do, they never leave the self to do any action. The action also, because their function is not coming from a stimulation of personal desire. I desire to do something, so I'm going to do it. No, they're not functioning like that.
That is for complete people. What I'm saying, if now I'm going to normal life,
Yeah.
okay, if I forget the self, okay, some sparkling self suddenly because of the guru's bless, I'm getting that. So once I'm normal life, the ego, with ego, I'm living with ego. So now daily some sadhanas I'll do. So the ego, what is the responsibility of ego to not distract my self-realization? Because ego only I'm most probably living. So what way the ego has...
Just like some people, if they have a very strong experience, if they're in the company of someone whose ideas is higher than theirs, some people drop their old ideas and take the new ideas because they say it's higher, and to that extent they grow. Some people, they have new ideas come, but they don't take it, so they don't grow. You see, it's the same way. If in your life, life gives certain situations come to you, they're experiencing a certain intensity. If they are, some people, they are learning all the time. They are very alert. So whatever happens, they are continuously evolving and growing in some way, you see? And the best of growth is that they're not just growing like this, they're growing in subtlety of understanding. Experiences, you cannot choose to experience something. You cannot say, today is my birthday, not going to experience anything today. It's not a choice you have. And because you are a living being, you will be compelled into experiencing. But the way in which the experience impacts upon you will determine how quickly you evolve. Some people, you tell them 100 times something and they just ignore it. Another one, you tell him once and immediately his life moves into that higher state. So it depends on the receptiveness, the sensitivity of your sense of person. Some evolve much quicker, others very slowly. So in relation to the speed and the sensitivity of your being will determine, that you stay more in the realized state rather than going in the egoic state. There's not one single measure for that. Each one will grow in accordance with their temperament, with their sensitivity, with the earnestness of their search for freedom. All of this contribute to your success or failure.
So most probably be with self without any desire like that in ego. It's a normal life. Don't give more importance to ego.
First of all, you must recognize what ego is. You see? Because ego is not always, ego can be also, we don't know. What does ego mean? Ego means to identify one's beingness as though it's only personal, or that it is only the aggregate of conditioning and belief. When you strongly believe, I'm a man, I don't do things like that, or I am this, then what happens is those ideas, they crystallize at a certain point. I want to tell you, is supposing you are someone who is often suspicious of people. Everything is suspicious, suspicious, suspicious. Sometimes, if you are in that state too often, it's like universally the consciousness takes a psychic photograph and it prints on your face. You always just have a suspicious look. Some people just have they can't help it. It's like, you don't want that, actually. You really don't want that. You see? Like someone is always kind of like, sort of like. It's like it gets imprinted in your face. In the same way, the more you're open and so on, that removes, because your face is showing your history, it's a portrait of your mind also. When you realize the self, your face change. It is sending another information. It is becoming timeless. When people are in your presence, they never think of age. They never think of these things. They are caught by the blessing of your aura is already affecting them. This is why I'm saying normally when person and person meet, you're on the same kind of wavelength in general, little bit movement. But when person meets presence, already the elevation of that consciousness is raising from person into presence. That is grace. And this is what is happening. The more evolved you are, meaning the more you're living in your natural state, the more genuine positive impact you will have on the world around you. Even if you're not intentionally doing anything, just by the very nature that you exist, it is affecting your environment and elevating the consciousness around you. It's a very natural thing, you see. Yeah. I wonder if I finish with what you're saying there, that, yeah, so it's a very natural thing that as you you are learning, also the more your attention turns towards consciousness, the more quickly you evolve, because the egoic state is much more of a lethargic and more kind of resistant state. So you don't evolve in consciousness so quickly. But the minute you are switched on to that conscious vibration, you absorb and learn intuitively, very, very quickly. It happens, you see. Okay, next one. Who is the next one? I don't know the two. You or somebody there?
I completely agree that with what you say, and especially that of course we should empty the mental, and
we should empty the mental,
empty the head, and being peaceful and so on. And you just say that when you wake up, for example, in the morning, the consciousness arrives. What do you do when we do have a completely obsessional idea? That
what do you do when you have a completely
obsessional idea?
Obsessional idea. Yes,
that it comes and comes and never go back. Of course, you need to be conscious and observe it, but still, I don't understand how to do to observe and to make it get off when it comes all the day long.
For this reason, two things. One is if you have become aware of self-inquiry, self-inquiry is a very, very potent tool, you see. not everyone is attracted to it, because at first it can seem a bit mental, no? But as you discover the skill of it, no? It is very, can cut things, because the strength of anything is the strength of your identity with it. If you don't have identity with it, it has not any power. If it doesn't have belief in it, it has no power. Like a thought without belief has no power. A thought with belief has a lot of power.
When I listen to you, I understand. But when you're going to stop speaking, and I'm going to be alone with my mind,
yes,
it's going to come back.
Okay, give me an example how it come back. Just give me an example of, for instance, you don't have to be, you can just say, how it come back. The mind comes back and say, for instance, you're never going to get it. Suppose the mind come back and say, it's it's easy for him because he's so and so and so, but you are not going to get it. And some people are, and the mind, this thought is troubling them. It's like another entity is saying, you're not going to get it. You're not going to get it. What makes that thought so strong? You're not going to get it. What makes it strong is the belief in the one you think the mind is talking to. You are not going to get it. I'm not going to get it. But this I who is not going to get it is also a thought. We don't think it's a thought because for so long we have the habit of associating with that mode of identity. So you accept it, and the impact is on that identity. And so it brings in the feeling of unworthiness and I'm not going to get it. And oh my God, I was so close. And you get into that kind of thing, you see. So what would be pointed to you is to ask you, when it says, the thought says, you are not going to get it, what does this you, where is this you particularly? What does it mean? And maybe because you're not used to this question, it just feels, no, I'm sorry, I'm so confused. It's so confused when you speak, I can't get it, And the one pointing out could say, but even confusion is a state you are aware of it. Don't purchase it, just be aware that confusion is just a state. It's like a cloud. It will pass, like all states pass, no? Presently it's here, and strong identification is going there, and that's why it feels so painful. If you can learn to begin to observe things without logging into them, that is already a very powerful exercise. Begin to observe most things you can observe because you haven't developed any emotional attachment to them. But some thoughts have very strong triggers for personal identity. So when it comes, like maybe if you have a strong fear of rejection or of feeling abandoned or like this, when those thoughts come, they paralyze your being. But it's just a thought believed in. So with someone who can guide you and say, look, they can even sense by looking at you that the thought is taking effect. It's like the poison is in the brain already. And they can see all the symptoms. You start to twitch and all this. So, observe that thought. You're not in it yet. You're dreaming now being in it. They can help like this and gradually break the force of that influence of that thought. It's totally possible. Observing itself confirms that there's already a distance. Anything that you can see or perceive, meaning you cannot be directly that thing. You're simply the witness to it. And you see that it comes and goes. You cannot be the thing which comes and goes because you were there before it came. And if you were it, when it goes, you would also be gone. But you can say, now it's gone. So you cannot be that thing. It's just you have a temporary state of hypnosis where it's as though you're possessed by a thought and you're living in the energy of that belief. And this can be cut, for sure. It can be cut. Yeah. Over there for a minute.
Hi, Guruji.
Hi.
I wanted to say, should I stand or is this okay?
Just that we can hear you is important.
Okay. So, I was supposed to come with a friend to India, and they spontaneously decided not to come. And then
You were coming with a friend to India.
Yeah, and
but
they
then in the
decided not
last
to
moment
come.
they decided not to come.
So I got very upset because I didn't have a ticket, but it was perfect because then I was able to come early and come here. So it all actually worked out.
Yes.
And I actually only bought the ticket 4 days before, and then I got everything organized, and I came for all the Satsangs, and it's been really powerful, so I'm really happy I came.
Yes.
I can't even describe what's been happening.
Yes.
It's like I can't even escape the self. It's so insane. And
Yes.
I have like no resistance.
Yes. You see, you have the sensitivity to recognize that in spite of something not going the way that was intended, you still recognize that grace is with you in it. Some people, if their projections are not fulfilled, they throw their hands in the air and they're finished. But another one recognizes that, wait a second, life is not here to simply fulfill the mind's projections. And a wisdom in you can relax with that and say, you set out to go to the north, you end up in the west. And you feel, whoa, you find a life in the west. And it's fine. Why is it fine? Because you are fine with it. If you're not fine with it, it's like it never goes my way and la 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 like this. So this is the flexibility of the one who is growing intuitively to be at one with the universal dynamic play. You have to be like that. Can I give you a little story which I've told before, which I think really conveys this? It's important, no? And some of you have heard me told this. I used to tell a lot of stories like this, no? But now as you speak, it brings it up. It was this one that there was once, I'm laughing already. There's a certain king, no? There was a king, and he himself came to the kingdom because his father passed away, and he was put in the place of king quite early. He was not a very smart king, by the way. But what was good is that he had a very clever and wise counselor. You may have heard me say. He had a counselor who was wise. But the king was not so wise, but he was wise enough to recognize that his counselor was wise. So everywhere the counselor went with the king. Everything the king did, the counselor was there, more than the queen. He was always there, except when the majesty goes to the bathroom, he'll wait outside. So they're that close contact, you know. Everything that needed a decision, he would consult his counselor and they would talk, and he says, okay, he will give his opinion. Now, as it happened, one morning, the king, a bit temperamental sometimes, one morning he's coming out of bed and he reached down to slip his foot into his royal slippers, and the slippers slipped on marble floor, and he fell and cracked his elbow, you know, fell. It's so painful, and he's screaming, screaming, you know. He called, counselor. Quickly, the counselor comes and says, Your Majesty, what? He says, look, you know. The arm is almost broken. You know? So he says, oh my Lord, what is it? He says, why did this happen to me? Why did this thing happen? The counselor took a moment and says, my Lord, I cannot say why it happened, but it's good. The king flew into a rage. How could you say this is good? Look how it hurts. He was I'm not happy with you today. I'm not happy. Guards, take him away. They picked up the counselor, took him down the dungeon. Because the king was so unhappy, they threw him into the dungeon, locked him. King, he was in great pain. He could not leave his royal palace. He was in so much pain. He never thought about, every time he thought about the counselor being in the dungeon, he goes, good. How could he say something? He did not show me any compassion or nothing, tell me it is good. So after a couple of weeks passed, the elbow felt better, but it was not healed. They had to bandage it. But he felt well enough to go out to get some air. The king wanted some air. And he loved horses. He loved riding. So as soon as he felt good enough, he went down to the stables, had his favorite horse, white horse, saddled up. And he says, yes, I'm going for a ride. Without the counselor, my lord? I don't need him. So they saddled up, he mounted, and he rides and he rides, and he's filled with joy, the breeze flowing through his hair, and he rode and rode and rode. He couldn't stop riding. Rode so long and so fast and so far that, in fact, he came to the very edge of his own kingdom. But he was not aware. He was riding, and he saw a white deer. And he's following. And he ends up into another kingdom. The kingdom of the cannibals. He's riding. And suddenly he's surrounded. They caught the king, and they took him. They took him, and they're bringing him to the heart of their community, and he's a nice big chap, like this, and they're pulling him. Boom, 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 boom. They said, we're going to have a nice big meal today. So they took the king and they put him in one place, lock him up, and then they started to build fire, big fire. And everybody's celebrating. They got a big fat one today, like this. And so like this they're making, and then they came time. The fire is getting really, really hot. They came to bring the king, and now the king is being pulled and he's going no, and you see they put the big skewer and everything, and all the people, the people are waiting now for him, and you can imagine how much fear and terror, and he's thinking of his counselor, my counselor, he's on his own. Nobody knows where he is. He's going to get roasted, barbecued. Nobody know what's happened to the king. So as they're pulling him, and he's resisting, naturally, they're pulling him, his sleeve came off and revealed the bandaged arm, orbit bloody. And all the celebration, boom, 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 boom. Everybody look. Oh, no. Damaged goods. We can't sacrifice him like that. So the king doesn't know what's happening. They carried him to his horse, put him on the horse, slapped the horse. The king was like this. The horse find its way back to the kingdom. Hours and hours and hours. Eventually arrived back to the kingdom. The king now is totally exhausted, and the people came and they took him off. They brought him, he looked really raggedy and everything. They took him back to his bed. He sleeps. Such intense experiencing. All his energy is drained. His mind is on fire. He's in bed, panting away. He has nobody to tell of his experience. And then he wakes up. And then he's going through all this in his mind. And then he remembers, my counselor. So quickly he felt to go to visit the counselor. He went down to the dungeon, open the door, open. He goes and the counselor is sitting there like this. It's now been 2 weeks. He's lost some weight and everything, sitting there like this quietly. The king came and fell at his feet. My counselor. The counselor says, my lord, is everything okay? So the king told him everything that happened to him. And he says, you see, you were always right. You were always right, because when this thing happened to me, I was so angry. You told me it's good. I couldn't see what you're saying. And my anger, I threw you in dungeon. But you see what happened now. They were going to sacrifice me, and then they saw this, and then they saved me. Like you said, it's good. Now, I rescued my life, was rescued, no? But you have done nothing at all. And you have been now in the jail for 2 weeks. How is this good for you? So the counselor said, well, my lord, I'm always with you, no? So when you went riding, I would have also been with you. And when they caught you, they have caught us. And when they couldn't sacrifice you, they would have sacrificed me. So it was good for me to be here. So this is a story. We never can see what is going to happen. Even from seeming misfortune, we feel that somehow this thing happened to me, this thing happened to me. But it turned out to be good if you have the patience and you have the sensitivity, you have the openness and the wisdom to recognize actually nothing in life is naturally against you except perhaps your own thinking. You see, like that. So he learned that lesson. We never, what is the real point of it? Don't mislabel your experiencing. Sometimes something may feel intensely painful, but it may contribute most strongly to your transcendence. Sometimes, of course, the mind is looking for a joyride. It wants everything so cozy. And if life was made up of beautiful lollipop moments, maybe you don't grow. So when things happen like that, as you have said, something that seemed like is not a good thing that happened. I was let down. It turned out that you came early to this place. You found satsangs were very beneficial for you. So it turned out to be a good thing. It turned out to be a good thing. Maybe you're not yet ready to thank your friend for not coming. But something, actually, it was good that this happened. I cannot say thank you to you yet, but it turned out to be good. If you have this type of attitude, you will not live a regretful life. You'll always learn from every situation something. And not just that, be very grateful also for what life sent you.
The sound company has to come and take that speaker now. And we can still stay here.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
What Shri said. No, she was. I'm not telling her that. No, she said that now the sound company, they come to take their speakers. Yeah, everything will go. One day. Now they're coming take the thing and they're like this and say, yeah, they can come. Today we're talking, let everything is taken, let everything taken. If everything is taken, there remains something that cannot be taken. What is that thing? That is you. Yeah. Everything life, time says, all that you see, all that you imagine, all that you remember, all that you're attached to, I eat them. I will eat them, I will consume them. The only thing I cannot consume is the awareness from which I come. That one will consume me. This is a beautiful thing. Maybe as I'm here, they come take the chair as well. Come the shirt, can we have the shirt back on? Yeah. Everything comes here. Okay, someone here now? And this one here. Okay, namaskar.
3 years back.
3 years back?
Yeah. When life was not happening the way I thought it would happen, I had the opportunity to read Bhagavan's words.
Yes.
That all bodily actions are preordained by divine will.
Yes.
Since then, I believed in those words. I could see sometimes the actions happen spontaneously, but then this intense fear comes to me because I don't have a job, I have to pay my bills, and I don't even have the urge to find a job.
Yeah.
So, and then 2 days back, I was supposed to go back to my home. I missed my train because it was late. I stayed all night in the bus stop, and then my mind, it was saying that, see, you became jobless, now you became homeless too. This is how you're gonna end up. Sometimes I can see that as a thought. It won't draw my attention, but sometimes it's too tough to be separate from that.
Yes, yeah, you got that because he's saying here that 3 years back, no? He had, when life was not going, it showing that it is not going to fulfill your projections. No matter how much you want something, it won't necessarily go that way. But he discovered the teachings of Sri Bhagwan, Ramana Maharishi, that said, whatever happens in life is ordained by the Supreme. Actually, I think it's one saying that says, whatever is destined to happen will happen. Try as much as you can to prevent it from happening. It will happen. And what is destined not to happen will not happen. Try as much as you can. You see, like that, to bring the contrary. And so it finished, I think he said, therefore, knowing this, the best course of action is to remain quiet within oneself. Now, he said this as quite a young person also, but those words have stood the test of time for many people. Some people can accept those words, they really fully accept it. And others, I'm not sure, I still have to try and so on. He doesn't mind. Those words came from the self like this. So you say, I took those words to heart and I accepted that, well, life is like that. Whatever comes, whatever happens is by divine ordination, by divine will. And pretty much it seemed fine until he came to a recognition again, I don't have a job, I don't running out of money, or I don't have money. And also I was meant to go back to find a job. I missed my train. So also reflecting on that, I'm penniless and I'm homeless also. Then sometimes it seems very difficult to really accept or see the truth in Ramana's words. And sometimes, of course, it will seem a test to accept something that in one moment may seem totally good, another moment think, oh wow, how is it? Does God know this is happening to me? You see? What to do? Because, where's the money going to come from? So what is the sage to say, well, yes, it's looking really a bit tough. Maybe you better start begging. No, he's saying the same thing, no? Especially for someone who has taken my words, he say. You've accepted them. And then the Guru's words must bear fruit. It must be true. So it doesn't matter, I say, oh my gosh, I know exactly, if I am from experience, what you went through also. Myself, it has happened. That you think, one time myself also, I stopped teaching. Many things happened for me spontaneously, I came into teaching without doing teacher's training course. I came to teaching as an artist. The art department of a college came to visit the exhibition I was exhibiting, and the head of the department liked my work and asked me, would I come to college and bring some slides of my work and talk with the pre-foundation art group? I said, yeah, okay. I went, we had these talks. It was very enjoyable for all of us, myself primarily, And then they asked, would you come again? Because the students enjoy. 3 times I went. On the third occasion, at the end of third meeting, he asked, would you like to do some part-time work here? I said, yeah, that sounds good. It's my love, painting and this type of stuff. So I started to teach and there, but my lack of teaching experience had its own troubles. In some ways, my way of working with students were very beautiful, but some other ways not working so well. And then at one time, I went back at the beginning of one term, and I was called into the main office, and I was told, we want you to go on a course, a special teachers training course, for 3 months out of town into another place called Tunbridge Wells, far away. No? And I just said right there, I said, no, I'm not going. I'm not going. And she said, what? I said, no, I'm not going. And already it was too late. The words came out of my mouth, and my heart felt them, and I couldn't put them back. Not for her sake. It was very spontaneous. And she said, of course, you are joking, that teachers don't give up their jobs. You have a secure job in it. I said, she said, go home, because she saw how much convinced I was by my own. I was surprised also. She said, go home and think about it. So I went home and pretended I had to think about it. But it was already clear for me. I went back, and then the most difficult thing was, this is my naivety, I thought I could say, I'm not going back and quit. They said, no, you have to work at least a full term. And at the end of this term, that's how it works in college. It was the most difficult thing I ever did, because my heart was not in anymore. A whole term, 3 months, I had to work, and it was a struggle. But at the end of that term, I was happy. I was not a good saver of income, or nothing. So after a few months, my income is gone. No income, No income, that was my outcome. No income at all, no money, nothing like this. And I had to live in the center of London without any money. I remember this thing, yeah. And I remember quite a number of times when, I was hungry, I had no money, I was living with my sister. I don't think she would mind me saying this. In those days, we were both of us living in this apartment, and we had one kitchen. We met every day in the kitchen. We got on very well. We had this cupboard, and this was our kitchen cupboard. She had 3 shelves, I had 3 shelves. Her 3 shelves, always full of things. My shelf, nothing. Like this. And sometimes I would go and take some biscuit, and I said, do you mind if I take some biscuit? She says, oh, why you embarrass me? You don't have to ask these things. You are my older brother. You can have what you want. But I couldn't do it, And so I remember many times I was hungry, and I was praying, oh God, you cannot do this, cannot let me, my belly, even I was praying, and many times, sometimes somebody come to the door, and they ring, and I say, my deliverance has come. I go there, there's somebody asking for the neighbor and nothing. So all these games happening like that. And then again, at the final moment, something comes. It was a real test of faith, But gradually, all these things, they contributed to the most profoundly beautiful experience for me, because I came to see, I lost the fear of being without, because I saw that something took care of me. And in fact, when I had no job and I had no energy to look for one, I started traveling. People started to invite me to travel and pay for me and things like that. I don't know how it happened like that. Even coming to India to be with Papaji in the last few months of his life. It was somebody came and invited me. I come to India with you. If I pay your ticket, can I come with you in India? And okay, come. Like this. All these things happen. So I lost fear about it. He said, no, it's a universe. How to take care of you, this attitude. Stop trying so much to try and do it. But I said, no, he has to take care of me, because my life is only for this. So you have to do it. You have to do it. And he had to do it. So I can say to you boldly, you will have to take care of you. And also sometimes abundantly, but maybe sometimes you feel struggle because you're struggling with your own doubts or something. Otherwise, what I can say, it only works when things are going well. No, it works all the time. You are at the beginning of a miraculous life. You have to take care of you. You have to see that your life at the moment is designed that way also. So you to have some experiences like this, and then to grow strong from them, yeah, and to be able to imbue that courage and that faith in others also, because you walked that path, you see. Yeah, don't worry about it.
You took your decision very spontaneously. But how do you do when you don't know what decision to take? If, for example, you have a proposition, two jobs, and you absolutely don't know what to take, which one?
Yes.
How do you know if it's not as clear as you say?
No, what you must do is you must keep quiet. You always push your mind too much. You think that that's the only way things happen. But it means that you panic and you're forcing. We are forcing decisions. Forcing, because you feel, I have to do this. But there's another way, which is to sit quietly inside your being and not even waiting, just trusting and being with that. I have to tell you this because you're not telling yourself. I have to tell you this because I know the one who you must find, like that. So, you say, you have two things, it's coming, I don't know which one, and, when you pay attention to your own silence, you see, you'll find that you did not make a decision, but a recognition happened in you. You see, otherwise man is always going to put something, this one or that one, this one or that one. Can I, this one or that one, this one or that one, you see? And then you feel like these are your only options, So no, keep quiet in your being. Surrender it to everything like that. When it comes like that.
Quiet after you sleep. That's my problem.
If you say keep quiet,
I'm
you
feeling
fall
asleep. I fall asleep.
Yeah, we know this one very well. Yeah, because again, the mind takes on this thing. Do you see? I see it very often in satsang. Sometimes we're having a sitting. I say, okay, just sit quietly, give yourself some space, and the body is functioning, breath is going. Some people, a sleeping pill couldn't work so quick. Even gas wouldn't work so quick. They come sit and you say, just remain aware of all these, but don't identify them. I see it all the time. It's a play of mind, is behaving like this. A kind of avoidance that happen like this, So then I say, this sleep is a fake sleep, You are the awareness which does not sleep. And they're back like that, So these things you're going to watch how the psychological mind, it behave, And just observe that until you come to see it is just a play arising. You are the witness of this. This recognition that you're observing this is very powerful. It might seem to be very passive, it's very, very powerful. Eventually you're going to be able just to pay attention, just to your sense of being. And don't let that link with any story, just to the sense of being. And so much power comes from this. You cannot describe what happens. It's like it cleans, it detoxes the mind, and it cleans everything, and leaves this beautiful inner sense of presence. These are simple things. Okay. Another thing is just your natural sense, as you're sitting here now, for instance, your natural sense of being. I sometimes call it the sense I am. But even before the words that says I am, you are. Just that you know you exist, you know you're here. That's all. Just this natural existence, you're self-aware that you are. That's all. Don't add anything to it. Simply stay in the natural isness of being. You may find some thoughts want to calm your attention, but you're aware of those. Just stay with this, just the feeling of existence, I am. Just stay with that. I thought you mentioned this. You wrote a letter, no? Just stay with this first, and that will develop intense inner focus, and it washes away all this fluttering around. You become very, very stable inside your being. Now, you wrote a letter, I think I read it today, no?
Yes.
That said, even after a while now, that it feels is not enough, you say. That, what is the last part of your letter? You say that this space that I speak about, where that transcendental state, in which even the sense I am, beautiful as it is, even that sense is also perceived. When I gave the illustration of the bird, first bird, second bird observing, and you could identify the second bird function within yourself of just being aware, but not as a doer, just the awareness. That is the I am state, self-watching. Just self-watching. Tremendous power and focus come here. Then I finished off by saying, when even the second bird, who is the observing presence, when that also is itself perceived. By what is it perceived? I don't want the answer in words, but just to contemplate. And that one you cannot describe, that is the ultimate state. That is not something you're going to become. It will feel like you become that because, in a sense, in a way, we unbecame that. But not really, only through dream. But now you begin to discover, wait a second, it is possible. When I'm in the position of seeing first bird activity, second bird observing, and now from this place, all these are also perceived. What can you say of this? Where are you? Who are you now? Like that. If you can spend a little time just in this kind of contemplation, you'll find nothing trouble you. Nothing trouble you. If some things come, they are superficial, they are smaller things. Because you have developed some, the word develop is not, release, I don't know what it is. We have rediscovered your own limitlessness. And nothing in this world can give you this. Wealth cannot purchase it. Even if you went on an island to live by yourself, you cannot find this level of peace, which you can find in the heart of the city by knowing this, what I speak about. Nothing that human beings have created or devised can compare with the bliss of your own natural state.
I'm a little deaf, so could you just repeat the last part where you said when you're in the I am, when the second, you even observe the second bird observing the first bird, right?
Yes.
And then from
both
there,
these stages then become apparent to you, meaning that they are phenomenal. Relative to the first bird, the second bird is a stillness, relative to the first. But this second bird also is phenomenal to a deeper seeing, which is non-phenomenal seeing, which is not tied up with bird 1, bird 2, nothing at all. No? It is not focusing on anything particularly, but nothing can exist without it. Whatever it is that appears, it can only appear in it. You may call it pure awareness, you can say. But actually, there's no words for it.
Is that the state of bliss, that Brahman that we talk of when you're just observing, when you're just in that state observing the second birth?
You're not actively observing anything. Observing happens, but you cannot say it is observing when there's only it.
It is only it.
Yes.
Okay. You're just it. You move from I am, from the second stage. You transcend into another stage. That's what you're saying.
The words, they sound okay, but it's not like that.
Okay. One has to experience it or go through it to understand.
You become conscious that it's always been here.
Yeah, it is always
Presently,
there.
we are not aware. You're not aware of your awareness. We are more aware of our body-mind function and of personal identity. That will also, you will transcend this also. You know, nicely.
Like the proof of the pudding is in the eating. So it's better now to start practicing what you've been saying. Go to the second bird, then see what's even observing the second bird. Just sit quietly and try to go within.
Don't be in a hurry. Don't be in a hurry. Don't be in a hurry. You recognize to come from the place of person to presence is already a mighty step. Because from person to presence, you're in the witnessing consciousness, and that already you're in the nectar of Satchidananda, in the witnessing. But in the ultimate state, that even this, so don't try to move quickly. First, acknowledge and stabilize, and that becomes normal for you. That the ego state becomes phenomenal for you. You lose interest in it naturally. You're in the joy of the witnessing state of conscious presence. Then gradually, you'll come to see that there's space beyond even this witnessing, in which witnessing itself is witnessed, but without a witnesser. No, it is there like that. Don't be in a hurry, because many people, they hurry it, and so what happens is the intellect takes delivery for it. And so they may talk as though they know, but they're not. The knowledge is not baptized. It's not. When I say it doesn't, combust into spiritual knowledge, meaning that it's just, if it's only in the head, it will not always stay with you. In a stressful moment, it will collapse. It will not be there, you see. So you must become your answer, not you have answer.
You must become your answer. That's what you just said,
Yes,
right? So
yes.
beautiful. You become your own answer.
Yes.
And that just happens slowly. Like you said, you marinate in it. It's like, say, a butterfly coming out of the caterpillar coming out and becoming a butterfly. It takes its own time.
Yes. Just don't rely on the mind's way of understanding it. Don't rely upon the mind's way of understanding it. Because the mind tries to make a sequence, so I do this, and then after that I do this, and then after I do this, and it's not quite like that. So don't be tight about that. So that when you're not tight, it gives room for grace to come. If you're too tight, you tell grace, no, don't disturb me. No? But when you're kind of open and, then somehow it wraps itself around you.
Thank you, Mooji. You really...
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
The greatest transcendence. I like to put these things because I don't want to give you a lot of things to remember, no? Why? Because yourself is here. No? If I tell you too many things about it, it creates a sense of distance. The thing to transcend is the ultimate attachment, and the attachment to your present idea of who you think you are. Because that is generating a lot of delusions. And you can't fix those things outside. If you see that the I that you're saying, but I want this thing and I want this I itself and the voice that comes to represent it is not true. There's some things earlier than that that sees this and sees somehow how much loyalty there is to this identity, how much attachment and fear there is that is preserving attachment to an identity that is also transient. At least have an openness about it so that you're not securing, because it will make you feel very insecure and protective, and it's very difficult to see it because we have such a deep emotional attachment to our present state of identity. But remember, we had also equally strong an attachment to our person earlier, and now you have left him, you're leaving him, so he's not precious anymore. Similarly, the present state you will also transcend. You see? So that you can move nicely in the world in this state. It's just natural emptiness. Now, it doesn't sound good in our world of the conditioned identity. Like emptiness feels like how unproductive. Who wants emptiness? One of the first books we were thinking of producing, I called it Nothing Is. We were trying to get it published in the United States. They didn't like that. They should say everything is. I say nothing is. It sounded like a negative. And I say it's beyond negative and positive, with understanding, So it shows how the mind, we are not trained to be nothing. You're trained to be the best something. And that's understandable from a worldly level. But to transcend the worldly level, which is the truthful thing, you must come to that state where you can bear your own shapelessness. You may take shapes, but momentarily. So you're making shapes inside your shapelessness. You're touching the finite inside your infinite-ness. You will come to see that, And what joy, what joy, You're so happy that this understanding has come to you like that.
Yes, it would be wonderful, because if there's emptiness, you don't have to do anything. You just go with the flow in that emptiness. Otherwise, we waste so much energy trying to control situations or projecting something. So it's so liberating, it's so freeing when you say,
yes.
Thy will.
Yes, you, in a sense, you can say you go with the flow, and at the same time, you're watching this flow. You're moving.
Not getting involved in it.
In your dynamic expression is part of the flow. And your non-dynamic reality observes the flow, but not as something separate or distant. It cannot really be conveyed with words so well.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Thank you. I am nothing, 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 nothing. That is my highest joy. I can appear to be something, but absolutely I am nothing. Even the sense of everythingness appears in me, just like you. It is your most absolute freedom, beyond even the need to mention freedom. Freedom is also a limitation. Natural state. Yet I can experience my human feelings and so on, so on, so all those things. The senses are still operative. I'm not in conflict with them. They're also blessing. It's part of the way that one can enjoy this existence also, without depending upon it. You know? My existence exists in myself. Same like you. One is in time, one timeless. Thank you. For the fourth time I say thank you. Ah.
Actually, Shabby, who just gave you this gift, helped so much with all the AV things. Shabby, who just gave you this gift,
yes.
he just helped so much AV team during this season, and he's been beautiful support.
Yes, she was just saying that you came, we came here, as I said, we did not have an intention to make satsang, just passing through, and somehow we came to recognize, we have some satsang while we're here. No? And in the same way, some friends, some beings come that we did not anticipate. They come. He's one of them. Now he's giving me a present. Who came and also helped to with the sound and with the equipment and so on. You see, so normally we're traveling with much more equipment on this thing, but just Anand came with camera, and then another camera showed up, and like this. So this is how it works. You see. Oh, I like the color of that. What is that one called? Oh, it says here, wild stone is what? Wild stone. Okay. Lapis lazuli. Ah, very nice. Look at that one. Huh?
Lapis lazuli.
I don't think it'll go over my big head though. Huh? No, I'm not even going to try right now to do that. It might just be up here like this. You can open the bar? No. I'll change it. Next time you see it. Thank you so much. I love the color. It's very beautiful. Man. Thank you. I love you. Thank you.
You come back to
Huh?
Come back to next year.
Thank you.
Next month.
Next month? Merci beaucoup. Je t'aime